Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. We're going to talk about how to prep the body for cleansing. It's something that I don't take lightly because when I was beginning my healing journey, I went from 0 to 60 and jumped right on a cleanse pretty soon after I began implementing some of the medical medium protocols and that sort of thing. I went from a keto diet for like a year and a half, so high fat diet, and jumped immediately the next day into a vegan diet, which I do not recommend because the body does not like to be shocked. So it can be quite a detox like storm that you stir up if you don't take the steps to prepare your body for the time that it's ready to cleanse. When we stir up the toxins and prompt the liver to release them, if our lymphatic system is not prepared, then we are simply going to probably recirculate those toxins and have to reabsorb them if the lymphatic system is not flowing well enough due to the fact that the lymphatic fluid is thick and gloppy. If you haven't been implementing a lot of hydration and that sort of thing, getting things thinned out, adding a lot of living water in, so your blood and your lymphatic fluid, they have viscosity. They have enough of that ability to just move things through and they don't get lodged or stuck. That's so key. Basically, we need to start at ground zero. I'm just going to go through the basics because we need to have a general knowledge of where we're starting and then where we're going to go with our destination, what we're shooting for, and where we're aspiring to go. When we first start out, we're generally speaking probably eating a regular diet, a standard American diet. Even if you don't live in the States, probably your diet is somewhat similar. And there's a lot of things that are inflammatory in there. So the basic knowledge that I want to share with you is that the fact that spasmodic dysphonia at the root cause has like three things contributing to the condition. First, we have the emotional nervous system upset by trauma, by prolonged stress, that sort of thing. Next, we have pathogens in our bodies like Epstein Barr and Shingles virus that are opportunistically nestling into the openings in the nerves of the vagus nerve and causing inflammation. And then we have a heavy metal component as well. So we also have the presence of mercury in our bodies. Sometimes we can be past the pathogens and the mercury and that sort of thing, even from our parents in utero. But sometimes we just have a lot of toxic exposures. There are things like pharmaceuticals, things like solvents and gasoline, gas fumes, things like air fresheners. Those plug-in wall fresheners are absolutely horrible. And they all contain heavy metals. We can absorb them through our skin, in contact with things. We can absorb them by breathing them in. We can absorb them so many ways. There's countless ways. So this is not to make you paranoid and scared. This is just to inform you that there are ways we can start eliminating those, but we have to make a concerted effort to do so. Our bodies, the way our normal diet is set up, is not it does not give a pathway for our bodies to effectively cleanse those things out unless we make a concerted effort to do that. But again, like I said, the body doesn't like to be shocked. So we have to start with the inflammatory foods. The foods that are feeding the viruses are the first things that we need to consistently remove from our diet in order to make any significant progress with healing our voice, or any condition that you're looking to heal. any autoimmune, any chronic pain situation, if you have migraines, if you have fatigue, if you have digestive issues, if you have any sort of health ailment, essentially, removing these foods is going to help you. So we want to remove eggs, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, canola oil, and pork. Now, pork doesn't actually feed the viruses, but the fat in pork makes the environment for the viruses to thrive a better one, and it makes it harder to detox things out of it. So that's why it's important to keep the pork out. Okay, so we've started eliminating them one by one. I suggest you systematically pick one. I would pick the hardest one to conquer first, personally, just because that's going to be your biggest obstacle. And once you have learned to remove the thing that you eat the most and figured out what to replace it with, then the rest are going to be easy for you. So if you're a person who's a bread person and you eat a lot of breads throughout the day, we need to figure out that aspect. So maybe start with the gluten. Maybe you're someone who eats a lot of eggs and then eats them every day for breakfast and then adds them to other meals of the day as well. And that's another a big one for people. A lot of times it's very hard. They're also hidden in processed foods and also in baked goods and things like that. So removing eggs can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. Again, the dairy, a lot of people like cheese and butter and that sort of thing. So again, those are the big three that are the hardest for most people: the gluten, dairy, and eggs. But then if we can start with those and get those successfully removed from our daily regimen, then we can start moving down the list to the corn. And there are some hidden corn ingredients in processed foods a lot. Sometimes the corn starch, sometimes citric acid is made from corn, and sometimes if you see starch written on a label, sometimes that's, code for corn. So again, removing the corn is super important. Similarly with the soy, there's a lot of soy additives. Soybean oil is added to a lot of processed things. Sometimes there's soy lecithin as an ingredient for certain like supplements and things like that. We want to be aware of that. There's soy sauce in foods. We have to, become avid label readers, to say the least. So then we've gotten rid of those. Now the next one that's a little tricky too is the canola oil or rapeseed oil, depending on where you live in the world. They call it by a couple of different names, and we want to begin eliminating that. Now at home, that's super easy because we're cooking with olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil. Oh, and here comes my cat, of course, always on cue. The minute I start going on a call or on a live, of course, she has to make her appearance. I know, little Luna. She's such a singer. Anyway, so the canola oil is tricky just because it's in everything processed. And so you just have to be super careful with reading labels and making sure that you're being sort of like vigilant about keeping that out. And then, of course, the pork. We have discussed on previous ones that other meats like grass-fed beef or pasture-raised chickens, fine. Those are fine. Again, perhaps the fish might need to be eliminated as well, simply because all of our oceans and waterways are sadly, oh my goodness, she's having an issue. She wants to get up, but she is. Yeah, so we want to eliminate the canola oil. We want to eliminate all of those other foods as well. And then once we've successfully done that and we live our lives, we've figured out kind of what to replace them with. For the breakfast things, like the gluten-free oats is a good option for giving you a substantial feeling in the morning that you might be missing if you're taking out eggs. Learning how to bake your own little treats that that do not involve regular wheat flour, that are made from cassava flour or chickpea flour or rice flour or almond flour, all of those types of things. That's very helpful because, again, the more you can be assured of clean ingredients, the more rapidly we're going to be eliminating these viruses and such out of our body if we can start being a little bit more steadfast about that. So once we've eliminated all of the troublemaker foods, then we need to also make sure that we're bringing in lots and lots of beneficial healing foods. We want to begin acclimating ourselves to large quantities of fruits and vegetables, and they're detoxifying. So you might experience some cleansing reactions. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm allergic to apples or strawberries or this or that. Well, that's a condition that can be corrected over time as you begin to detox your body. So what that actually translates into is the fact that you're not allergic for all times. Your body is just so toxic right now that a little bit of cleansing effect that is happening from those foods is causing you to feel symptoms, which are detox symptoms, but they are sort of perceived as being like an allergic reaction. So we have added in lots of fruits and vegetables, and then we're going to start also adding in, we've already started adding in our lemon into our water. We're going to amp up our water intake so that we are getting up to like 3 liters a day or 96 ounces. And so once we have that kind of under our belt, then we move into the next phase, which is to begin taking the fat out of the morning. Let's just start there. If we can get our breakfast routine going, so we can start something like celery juice. Again, highly detoxifying. We want to start small with celery juice. We want to start with just a couple of celery sticks at the first, and see how we do. We want to start it on a day where you don't have to run out and go to work right away. We want to start it on a day where you can stay close to your toilet if you need to for a little while. We're going to amp it up as you find that you're doing fine with it. You might not have a detox reaction, and if that's the case, then you can absolutely go to 4 ounces. Try that for a bit, and then move it up to 8 ounces. And then if that seems fine, then move it up to 16 ounces a day. And that's what we're ultimately shooting for. Actually, I drink 32 ounces myself, but obviously what I do and what I would suggest that you do are not the same thing. I've been doing this for 6 years. So my body is used to a lot more of this type of thing now than it was when I first started, and probably where you guys are starting from too. So after we've mastered the celery juice, then we can start bringing in the heavy metal detox smoothie in the morning. So even before we are finished bringing in the celery juice, we could start a smoothie, a regular smoothie, start adding some of the ingredients. We could start adding like the wild blueberries and the bananas, the oranges. You could then, graduate to throwing in some cilantro. Then we're going to, gradually start adding in the powders, the barley grass juice powder, the spirulina, and the Atlantic dulse. But again, start with small amounts of those active ingredients when we first are introducing the heavy metal detox smoothie, because again, for me, that was highly detoxifying, and I really could not tolerate the heavy metal detox smoothie in its full recipe until about 2 years into my journey. Because it would make all of my neurological symptoms just go nuts. It would make me just, feel out of it and weird. And cause my spasms to get worse, and hence my voice sounded worse when I was, doing it. So in the beginning. Now that, of course, does not happen anymore. And I drink 2 smoothies a day. So There you go. So then, once we kind of like master getting the morning routine down, and then I want to mention the adrenal snacks because that's another important component, which means you're eating every 1 to 2 hours and you're eating a combination of minerals, glucose, and potassium at each snack. So an apple, dates, and celery sticks is like the ideal adrenal snack. You could do other combinations like cucumber and banana and a date or something. You can use lettuce as the green thing. You can use the cucumber as the green thing because we're looking for those minerals that are in whatever's green. And then we're looking for something with a good glucose count, like a banana or a mango or, an apple. So those types of things make an ideal snack. So we want to, again, get in the habit of eating that on a regular basis. Then we have that down. So we've got fat out of the morning. We're detoxing from about 3 in the morning when our liver turns on and starts doing some work. We're hydrating and flushing and doing nothing but providing hydration and also optimal nutrition with minerals and glucose all throughout that time period. Then when we come to our lunch, then you could start adding in, say, some avocado onto your salad, or having a little bit of salad dressing on your salad with olive oil and vinegar perhaps. But again, that's the stage right now. And then you could, if you're going to eat something like nuts or something, you could eat them in the afternoon. Similarly with your dinner, these types of things apply. If you wanted to have like a marinara sauce that has a little olive oil in it or something like that for dinner, if you want to have your meat, if you're a meat eater and you want to have a little grass-fed steak or chicken, dinner is a perfect time to do it. As we're starting, if you need to bring it into lunch as well, that's okay. Because again, body does not like to be shocked. And if that's what you're used to, then we make that change over time and gradually, and just like maybe taper it off a little in the afternoon. We don't eat as much, or we, instead of the meat, we add other cooked food options, which kind of slow down the detox as well. So you could add like a baked potato into your lunchtime, or some roasted potatoes or roasted vegetables, or make your own stew or soup, whatever cooked thing you want to make. And then, so after we have mastered, we've got the morning down. And then what we're going to do over a period of time, again, I'm not talking about next day. I'm talking about weeks or perhaps months later. I don't know your time frame. I don't know how toxic you are. We all have our different toxic loads. And so we all are, and we have different levels of sensitivity in our nervous system. So I don't know. Until we try to start doing this, you won't know how sensitive you really are. And that's why I say proceed with caution, just because if by chance you are as sensitive as I was, I don't want you to suffer the way I did through my first bit of cleanses. So I don't think it's necessary. And I think that it basically could be avoided to some degree. So hopefully by proceeding slowly over time, that ensures the fact that you guys are going to be lucky because you have someone showing you the way, which I did not. That's my one criticism of the medical medium books, is that he doesn't really differentiate between people who are sensitive nervous systems and people who are only dealing with a couple of health concerns. There's a difference. The more symptoms you have, and I had over 30, the more toxic you are and the slower you have to go. So after we've mastered the morning, we're going to start working on the lunch. So we're going to look for things that you can eat. A salad is always a great choice because we're looking to amp up our leafy greens so we can rebuild our neurotransmitters that will communicate from our brain to our voice. It will also help our hormone balance. It will also help our adrenals get less fatigued. So we need as many minerals as we can possibly get in. And if we have a neurological condition like spasmodic dysphonia, that already tells me you have some toxins in your body, and that perhaps some of the minerals that are in your body currently are getting utilized to bring your acidity that's in the body down to or up to a more alkaline level, because the body will use those minerals just for balancing your pH in your body. And then the minerals don't get utilized by the other things, because minerals are the basic thing of all the enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, any of the communicators, the things that help the body communicate. Insulin, made of minerals. So in order to be able to have good communication between all the systems of the body, we need to have a strong mineral influx all the time, so that our adrenal glands can make all sorts of great adrenaline out of those minerals, and can make, we have over 2,000 blends of adrenaline. We have adrenaline that helps us fall asleep, adrenaline that helps us stay asleep, adrenaline that helps us dream, adrenaline that helps our hair stay in our head. So there's like countless, not countless, but 2,000 blends of adrenaline. Hopefully not all just straight cortisol, which is what we're experiencing when we're in fight or flight. What we're trying to do is work from the inside out, helping our adrenals calm down, so that on the outside we can also be working on our emotional state and other things that are keeping us amped up. We want to just bring all systems into balance and begin nourishing ourselves on such a deep level that the body can repair itself. Our immune system is able to function at the highest level to get rid of those pathogens, those viruses and bacteria in our bodies. And then also the little tools that will help detoxify the body and get rid of those metals. So let's see if we have any questions. Let's see, what were the powders again? Spirulina, barley grass juice powder. So it's not to be confused with barley grass powder. That's a different thing. So just be aware of that, because I've heard of people actually ordering the wrong thing before. And so we want the barley grass juice powder. And then the Atlantic Dulse, you can get it in a few different forms. You can get the whole pieces of dulse. I order mine from Maine Coast Sea Vegetables, which is a company that has all sorts of different sea vegetables. They have, though, you can buy the dulse, the Atlantic Dulse, in bulk. So I buy like these 2-pound bags, so I don't have to do it as often. And so it lasts me a good, I would say, 6 to 8 months. And then I reorder it again. And so instead of just having to constantly, when I first started out, I ordered the little like 2-ounce bags from Amazon, but I was having to do it a lot more often, and it winds up being more expensive that way if you do. But if you just want to try with the little bag to begin with, you don't have to go all in with the 2-pound bag at your first time. But I'm just telling you what I do, and you act accordingly, what works for you best. So as we are progressing through our day, then we're successfully keeping the fat out of the lunch. There's lots of fat-free cooked food recipes that you can make. There are also, again, I can't emphasize the salad enough. We got to have one of those in it every day, if possible. Possibly a couple times. Like I will put a couple giant handfuls into my heavy metal detox smoothie of spinach. I'll put spinach in my smoothie, even though that's not in the regular recipe for the heavy metal detox smoothie. I add those greens because I'm trying to amp up my minerals. Similarly, if you're having a cooked meal, you could put it over a bed of greens. Like just put some lettuce on the plate, then put the cooked food on top of the lettuce and eat it like that. So you're just finding little tricks, little ways to get it in every day. Once we have mastered keeping the fat out of our breakfast and lunch, then we're going to try and strive to get to 4 o'clock. We can get to 4 o'clock before we eat any fat. That means all day our body can be detoxifying. Once we start eating that fat, then things slow down. It kind of gums up the works, and the liver's having to divert from its duty of detoxifying into its duty of producing bile in order to digest the fats. And so then Once we've successfully mastered getting to 4 o'clock, then we want to aspire to wait till dinner to have our first fat of the day. So again, this happens over a period of time. It does not happen overnight. But if you can, get to that point, then we start, reducing the amount of fat in the evening to prepare your body for cleansing. And I like to say a good rule of thumb is removing the fat out of dinner, so you're successfully fat-free essentially all day long, and you want to be able to do that for 3 days in a row, minimum, in order then to jump on your first cleanse. In my opinion, it would be good to wait until because you'll find, again, taking the fat completely out of your day, your detox rate is going to go up exponentially, and you don't know. Also, there's a cumulative effect. So you start with your first fat-free day and you just get through the one day out of the week. And then maybe, the next week you say, okay, I'm going to try to go 2 fat-free days, but I'm not going to do them consecutively. I'll do one on Monday, one on Thursday. And then, once you get kind of like down the pike, you could try putting them together. So Monday, Tuesday. And then you're ready to add on a third one, but you will maybe do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. But then once you kind of feel confident with doing that, then you could go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and do them consecutively, because then it is a cumulative effect that's like gathering momentum. By day 3, you've got more detox going than you did on day 1. So these are all just ideas to get you ready and prepped for cleansing. And I would recommend, if you're going to want to start cleansing, do those fat-free days, say 3 days a week, for a month, let's say. See how you do. And then you're feeling pretty confident that that's going well and the detox amount isn't too great. Then you could potentially start your first simplified 369 cleanse, which is got a bounty of cooked foods, which is going to be a little bit less detoxifying than if it were all raw, because the advanced cleanse is raw. And the original 369 cleanse also has a lot of raw days. So starting with the simplified is going to make that transition a little bit more gentle than just jumping into more of a hard core like cleanse that's going to prompt your liver to detox a lot. And then, so once you've kind of like mastered that, then you can, start doing those cleanses on a regular basis. I made a pact for myself this year after not cleansing for a few years, because I cleansed I did 9 cleanses before I got my voice back. I did 5 originals because that's what I started with. That's all he had, Medical Medium had out in his books at that point. So I didn't have the simplified option, and I told you I did it all wrong. I jumped right in, suffered through them. It was not a fun experience. But then I noticed this past January, I wound up getting some bronchitis for the first time in a long time. But that told me that my immune system needed a little love. And so also I had to take some regular medications for the bronchitis. And so I wanted to detox those out. So I said to myself, I'm going to do a cleanse every month this year so that I can move the needle forward for myself. Even though I've been doing this for 6 years, that doesn't mean that I am completely toxin free, because I spent, I'm going to be 59 next month. So I've had 59 years to be collecting these toxins in my body. And so it's not going to happen overnight. It can only your liver and your body can only dole out tiny amounts of those toxins at a time, because they're lethal. They would kill your brain. If everything got dumped all out at once, you would die, because the reason the liver has chosen to collect all these things is because they're so bad for us, and so can damage our brain and our heart and all of that stuff. So it has to go slow, and the body has an innate knowledge how to do it, and which is beautiful. It's wonderful. We're just giving it the tools that it needs to do that. Okay, so let's see if there's any more questions going on here. I don't see any more, but you guys have any more? Have you started? Put in a comment below if you have started implementing any of these things that I have talked about today. Drop me a number 1 if you guys have begun implementing taking out the troublemaker foods, or if you've begun trying to drink some celery juice or something along those lines. Let me know. So anyway, well, I hope you guys have a better overview. The levers that are going to increase or decrease detox are the amounts of cooked foods versus raw. That's one. The amount of fat in your diet versus 0. That's another one. The 0 fat is more detox. A little bit of fat is still some detox, but not as much. And then, obviously when we get super advanced and into all this stuff, then, our days of juice only, which is day 9 of the cleanses, that's even more detoxifying and more. It's just about flushing and just providing the basic nutrients without demanding any sort of energy from your digestive tract. When you give it all the liquid, it gives the digestive tract a rest, and then you can divert all of the energy that would be going to digestion to repair and detox and all of that good stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys have had an enjoyable time and got some good takeaways from this. Again, if you're circling back to watch the replay, you can always put a comment below and just say replay or ask a question. I'll circle back to this when it's in the group. That would be great. And I just thank you so much for joining me today. I know you have a lot of other things you could be doing, and I'm just proud of you for wanting to take some time and energy to start healing yourself, starting to reclaim your voice and perhaps weed out some of those other symptoms that have been plaguing you so that you can reclaim the life you've been dreaming of. We're just looking for a 1% change every day. We're not looking for drastic changes. We just need to make 1% change in the right direction every day will eventually move your trajectory of healing to a much different destination. So I'm proud of you guys. I love you. And I will definitely be seeing you in the next one. Okay? Let me know if you have any more questions and that good stuff.